Make sure the lavaliers are up too.
No.
Okay, make sure they're up.
Why?
Because Wilson's going to say something.
You're live.
Welcome to Community Cuts Podcast. We're live from Brooklyn, New York at SALON LEAHING, 732 Washington Avenue between Prospect Place and Park Place. If you want to get your hair done, if you're looking for a great barber, looking for great stylists, 732 Washington Avenue is where you need to be. We're here every Friday, and you're welcome to join us every Friday at 7 o'clock at Salon League. Black-owned business, been in business for at least 2 decades. So please join us. Tonight, we're going to be talking about different things tonight about the post-election, pre-election that's coming up on this Tuesday. And it's been a big topic throughout the media. And it's a big topic throughout social media as well. So we going to ask you to join us and at least give us a thumbs up and converse with us. So the big topic today is going to be what's going to happen on Tuesday. Where do we go from here? What do we want to do? Is it really worth it? Some of us are not voting. Some of us are voting. Some of us are voting Democrat. Some of us are not voting at all. Some of us are voting Republican. We don't know what it's going to be. But in the eventuality, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So I am going to say to the Community Cuts family, vote, do vote. Go out and vote. Vote your choice. We're not here to tell you who to vote for, who not to vote for. But do go and experience this vote. This is a critical time in our state, in our government, in our America. So we're going to need you to go out there and do your due diligence and go out there and do what you need to do. So with that being said, always what I like to say is this, that to the family, that before I do anything, I always give it to God, give it to the Most High God, because God's in control of everything that we do, everything that we are, everything that we want to be. So before you vote, pray. And if you need to do a little fasting, maybe a 6-hour fast or what have you, do go out and do that, because it's a critical time in our country, a critical time in our states that we're looking at. And the paradigm is shifting and it's continuing to shift. Catherine, how you doing? Thank you for joining me.
I'm doing very well, thank you.
That's good, that's good. So this post-election, what do you, what's your views on the post-election?
I'm one of those who has a high probability of not voting. I am going to go vote because there are things down ballot
Correct.
that I want to support. And I think it's important to support your local candidates. They're the ones that actually have power to make change for your life and in the communities in which we live. So I've decided that it's because on the local level you can connect with your politicians should you want to do that. And you can lobby them, you can advocate for certain things. So it can be a doorway into making your individual communities better. So I've decided to do that.
Okay.
As far as the top of the ticket, it's like I don't support either candidate, so I'm not going to vote for either candidate. I would vote green, and I may write in the green candidate because the Democratic machine in New York City has been hostile to third-party candidates. And I think that should be part of the mix. As a citizen, I don't want the top of the party to tell me who I can and cannot vote for. And that's partially why I find it difficult to even support the overall National Democratic Party. I find them not to be very democratic.
Why is this election so important? Because a lot of people, the buzz is out and people are talking about,
I think it's hype.
you think it's this hype?
It's not so important. Well, to me. And
The reason why I said that is because a lot of people are talking about Trump is gonna send people back to their countries, talking about visas and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't
well,
make,
he may try to do that. So I guess there needs to be more engagement with people. But to me, a lot of the messaging before the election, it's all about drama. In the end, I don't know what's going to be done and what's not going to be done. It's up to people to stand up for themselves and to speak for themselves. Part of the difficulty is that people are busy trying to live their lives, and it's very difficult to engage politically when you're working or have a family. But there may need to be some more engagement on that level. And I think part of the problem is there's a difference between the problem that we're having with migrant populations and whatever perceived mixing that with immigration in terms of people who are already here, have been living here, have invested in the communities, have homes or businesses. They have as much right to fight for their rights as anyone else. And it's just a matter of collaborating and pulling the energy of each other together to go against particular policies or to support particular policies. I think that people are trying to terrify each other in order to get votes. I'm not sure that it's based in reality. So, I mean, Trump, from my vantage point, is very narcissistic, and whatever will give him attention, he will likely do. So we just, after the election, if he wins, have to pull his coattails and don't let him sit back. Or he needs to hear from both sides of the aisle.
okay, what about Kamala? Give us your depiction of her.
Yeah. Well, from my perspective, just on a personal level, I don't support Kamala. I don't find her appealing. But my problem really is the Democratic Party. I consider at this stage the Democratic Party to be a genocide party. As much as people hate Trump, Trump didn't start any wars. But this current administration has us in two very dangerous wars, both of which may lead us to nuclear war, which means everybody dies. So I'm concerned with the Democratic Party because even for people who love and support Kamala, she's not in charge any more than Biden was in charge. And I believe that whoever's running the show behind Biden will be running the show behind her. And that concerns me the most because Kamala already said she supports everything Biden does. I mean, that may change. She may be just politicking. You just can't really trust what people say before an election. And she's going to continue the policies. So that leads me to believe that she's not able to act or think on her own at this stage of the game. So that concerns me a great deal. And I think no matter who wins, if the population just goes back to regular, normal, anything could happen. I mean, I remember when Obama first was elected, and when he came to the podium, he said, he was very clear, I need you to be there for me. I need you to stay here. Don't just go back. But that's what everybody did. Oh, we got our first black president. He can do no wrong. People stopped paying attention. Obama started 7 wars in his 2 administrations. So I'm not saying the person who's in front is actually the person making the policies. Our elections and our system is very complicated, and there are a lot of invested interests. There's corporate lobbies. There's lobbies representing countries not American. I won't say who, but I'm just saying that there's a lot going on that influences, and many of our politicians are paid off anyway. And then people just went back, everyone was happy. Okay, we have the black president, but there was nobody there behind him to support him doing anything beneficial for Black Americans in particular and for Americans in general. And as of late, our presidents are all into foreign policy because that's where their money comes from. It comes from the the war complex, all these big war producers, manufacturers of weapons. They pay a lot of money to the politicians to keep us in war, in my opinion. They get lots of money. We have foreign interests giving money to our politicians. And to me, that's the core problem of this country's election process. So even when you bring in someone who has good intentions, how far can they really go? We have a system in which presidents are assassinated.
Right. It sounds like a shadow government that you're talking about.
Yeah, so I think people should vote for whomever they feel they want to support, but unless we're going to be there post-election, the day after and following, holding people's feet to the fire, I don't think it matters who we vote for.
I concur with that. That's why I tell people at the end of the day, we're gonna have to, pray about this. We're gonna have to ask the Most High to step in, because the Most High God is the one that's in charge. He's the one that.
I don't doubt that, but I understand that the divine will works through people.
Correct.
And if you believe what the Bible says, Armageddon is coming, right? So that means God is not going to save us necessarily. Not everybody necessarily.
Well, I like to lean on His words and in Revelation as well, because we have to allow Him, because God works through us, and we have to allow God to work through us.
But that requires words and actions and deeds.
Correct.
So as long as you're acting according to your inspiration, that's the best you can do.
Right.
But you also have to.
And not everybody has the same spirit to begin with.
They have it, whether or not they're paying attention to. If they're human, they have it. I'm not convinced everybody is human, but that's another story.
We won't go there. We will not go there.
No, I mean, if you're going to look at it from the spiritual perspective, if you believe in the Most High, then you also believe in Satan, right? You believe that Satan exists if you believe that the Most High exists. So I think that there are people in the world who have given over their God-given birthright to that impulse and are doing ill will in the world.
Correct.
And I think many of our politicians actually fall into that category. So my spirit is telling me not to support either candidate at the top, because first of all, I don't agree with their policies, but also I want the Democratic Party to pay attention what the people want. I feel if I give my vote and not get anything back for it, no commitments, no promises, not even to look at what the people need, then I believe we should stop voting for these candidates. I mean, that's just me. I'm a person, a campaign of one. Not gonna do a lot, but my conscience is clear.
I hear you. I hear you. And at the end of the day, I think that our people need to reach out to the Most High God and just see what they can tap into and get answers, because we all need answers. And I think as we tap into the God that's within us, not the God that's outside of us, but the one that's deep inside of us, we'll get the answer.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. I would hope so, but I don't know. Most people that I look upon and meet and know in the world are not doing that. I'm not doubting that there's that divine source within, but people are not tapping into it. If that were the case, there wouldn't be such mayhem. So I think that people are not tapping into it, and I think we need to make conscious choices, because just like when you go to the store and you give somebody $1 for a cup of coffee, you're giving your energy and getting something back.
That's correct.
I believe voting is the same. When you give your vote to somebody, you should get back what that, an equal exchange for that. So,
And that's why you said conscious.
yeah,
Correct. So they have to be conscious.
right. So for all the people who are not conscious, I have my opinion.
Okay.
I just share my opinion. That's all. And that's really all it is. That's all we each have. But I believe that the real work starts after the election, no matter who wins. All these people that are all excited and arguing with each other, I want to see them the day after election. What are you going to do now? I think that's what we need to start thinking about. How are we going to
Not to go back to sleep.
ensure, how to ensure most people are voting as they sleepwalk, but we have to ensure that the candidates actually do something for us. And as much as Trump seems like a fearful person, I look at do you know that, maybe it's because I follow foreign policy, in Ukraine, 500,000 or more people have been killed in Ukraine. And the only reason that's still happening is because our government doesn't want to go to the negotiating table to stop the killing. And it's the same in Israel. In Israel, up until maybe 4 or 5 months ago, they counted 45,000 Palestinians killed in the war, more or less. But that's not counting the people who were under the rubble. That's not giving an account of people who died of their wounds. There are several 100,000 people who are wounded or amputated.
Correct.
So, from a spiritual perspective, I don't think I'm in more danger here in the United States than Palestinians are in their lands. So I consider my vote to be a vote that has to include people who are powerless. And so for that reason, no matter who, I think either candidate, I don't think any of them have the will to stop these wars necessarily. But I'm saying that we need to begin to look at a much greater perspective of what's going on. And then if you bring the focus here in our country, undercover, a lot of Black Americans are getting killed. There's a lot of shootings, there's a lot of stabbings, there's a lot of problems. We have hundreds of thousands of people living in the street. And I think that the election has become almost a distraction. It's a chance for us to get in the ring and fight each other, and one guy wins and then everybody else goes home. But meanwhile, people are still dying in the street. So I just think politics has to be bigger than the day we go to vote, from my vantage point. So, I mean, I'm not saying that I know what to do, but I remember back in the 60s, the 50s, 60s, 70s, there was a very strong movement in the United States that gave us the civil rights movement, that got laws passed, that made it possible for all people, no matter who they were, to be able to prosper in the United States. So generations of my ancestors from this country came together, brought together their power, and faced the government and were able to change things. And I think we have to do that on that level now. So we have to not be petty and say, oh, well, I'm from America. Oh, I'm from Africa. I'm from the Caribbean. I'm from South America. We have to stop buying into these petty arguments, fighting over who's better and who's not, and really begin to look at the world and decide if we want to create something better and find coalitions to do that. If we don't do that, we're screwed either way,
We are.
in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that our people have to start, getting out of their slumber, waking up, and be brave about it. Not to, be passive.
Yeah, it's difficult because people are not just afraid in terms of Trump. People are afraid of each other because people have been weaponized against each other through social media, through the family. I have my family has a family chat, where we stay connected to each other. And they're all talking about, let's go vote. But I wouldn't say anything about my opinion there because that's just going to create a conflict in my family. So I think that's where we need to really begin to look at our own behavior and allow people to have their own opinions and not condemn people for what they believe to be important. Just listen. There could be something there. And the truth is, it's a tapestry. Everybody has a piece of the puzzle. No one person has all the answers. So if we listen to each other, even if it's a contrary view, because I tend to be very contrary and I'm accustomed to it. I thrive off of it. But a lot of people will fear that their jobs are at risk or their businesses are at risk or their family connections are at risk. And we have to stop doing that. It's just dumb. It's really dumb. And it's not helping us. It's making us the pawns of the political parties that they find it so easy to stir us up against each other. And so this is what I mean by we have to be conscious, we have to speak, we have to act, and we can pray. But praying is not going to take the place of standing up for what's right.
Now, praying doesn't take the place of standing up for what's right, but it may give you the courage to stand up and knowing that the God in you is allowing you to stand up and speak out. That's all that prayer will do.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen it working so far.
I'm
not countering the power of the divine and the divine will. I just think that what's happening on the ground is so distracting that many people are not going to be contrary or radical like me. They're going to be quiet, no matter what they feel, no matter what they pray, no matter what they want. And so I'll let you preach. That's fine.
Okay.
You can preach about, the divine and praying for people to find their balance. And I think that's an important piece of it. But, I remember our leaders getting up there, making speeches, inspiring people, pulling together. I remember organizations and churches, creating events, sponsoring marches. I remember there being teach-ins where people could learn about the different policies and how to make a policy and how to bring a bill forward. And I think that's the kind of groundswell we need in the United States in order to be able to survive as a humanity, not just Black people, but all of humanity. If we are to survive, we have to act right. I mean, isn't that what the Bible says? It's not what you think, it's what you do. I mean, I don't know if it says that, but that's the message I get from it.
Greater that is in he, that is in me, than he that is in the world.
What does that mean?
Meaning that the God that's within me is greater than me. And so I operate, and I'm asking people just to tap into the tapestry to the God that's within them, to raise them up for courage, to raise them up as being lions and not, being fearful. Because a lot of times the world may have you in a particular position that, you have to be walking in fear. Because once a person is walking in fear, they're no more good.
Everybody walks in fear, in my opinion. The question is, what do you do with it?
Well, the question
do you succumb or do you stand up? And that's not a God's choice, that's a human choice. That's what I'm saying. I understand where you're coming from, and it's fine.
The fear, what I'm talking about is the fear, what I'm talking about, the anointing of the God that's within you, that there is fear. We all have fear. But the fear that I'm talking about, where God steps in and that fear disappears.
I don't think, have you experienced that?
Yeah, I have seen, I didn't see it, actually heard about it. I've heard about this man, this kid got hit by a car, and it was a loved one. And what he did, the car was on top of him, and he picked up the front of the car. That has to be the spirit of the Most High that's in that person that would move that car from above from that person. That is the kind of courage that I'm talking about, where you're not going to be derailed by fear. Because sometimes, if somebody comes up to me or comes up to my child and want to do something, I'm going to step in front of them. And I don't see any weapons.
Yeah, I understand that, and that's all well and good, and I've seen that, experienced that as well. But I don't find that. I don't know. I'm sure you inspire people to have courage, and I hope you do. I'm just asking people to have consciousness.
Yeah, consciousness is a how can I say it, is number one. You have to have conscious, because with conscious comes the mind, but the heart is where everything goes through. The heart is where it goes through, and
Well, yes, consciousness, in my opinion, is of the heart.
Yeah.
You can't be conscious without both the heart and the mind.
Correct. It reminds me of that story. I'm not going to go through that story right now, but the Wizard of Oz. You had straw man that needed, what did he need?
The straw man needed
a brain.
Heart, a brain. The lion needed courage.
Right. And the Tin Man needed a heart.
And the Tin Man needed a heart.
Right. I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but
I think, most people have seen it.
Yeah, but that's
So I guess people have to decide whether or not they're a Tin Man, a straw man, or a lion.
Correct.
To know what they need. But I understand what you're saying. I'm gonna celebrate and have my own private party on November 6th that the chaos has passed, the storm has passed, and then we can look and see how to pick up the pieces. And, for those people who are supporting a particular candidate, my hope is that they will stay in that candidate's face and make sure they do the right thing.
Anyone here wants to give a word out? Who you supporting?
I supported Kamala and I wish her the best in winning this election. I'm sorry, excuse me.
That's fine.
I'm sorry. Because her policy, I have seen here what she's saying about she grew up in a middle class home, just as myself, and she's willing to work for the middle class. And to help the middle class is to make America strong again. And this is why I think I'll vote for her. Because she'll make it stronger, middle class home stronger, and America stronger also.
That's fair.
That is,
That's just a fair concern. Yeah, because, you know, many people are dropping off the edge of the cliff economically, and that is a concern. So I understand that entirely.
well, family, we're gonna cut it now, and thank you for being a part of Community Cuts. We're located at 732 Washington Avenue. We are hosted by Salon Leahing, and it's a Black-owned business, and I'm asking people to come out and support the business. They have a beautiful hairstylist that, I mean, they do work. I mean, real good work, and never bother as well. So it's an excellent business. If you're in the Brooklyn area, you're from Brooklyn, please support Salon Leahing at 7 between Prospect Place and Park Place. And we're going to say good night to you. Please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you Tuesday night when this, I guess, mayhem, you think? Or what do you think?
Mayhem, maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I think things will calm down after the election and people will begin to recollect themselves. That's what I hope.
Okay. Thank you, Catherine. So to the family out there, peace, and have a safe weekend and enjoy. We'll catch up with you on Tuesday. God bless you, and good night. Brooklyn's in the house.